Alright. Now the circuit for this project will be pretty simple. You're going to take the nice power from mains, put it into one of those wall outlets. That's going to spit out 12 volts DC. That is going to go into a little buck converter, which is going to take that and make it probably 3.2 volts. So we're taking the wall, dropping it to 2, dropping it to 3.2. Why are we using a 12 volt one? It's cheap. Then we're going to take from that 3 point, I'll draw that as negative, that positive. We're going to run the positive into two spots. We're going to run it into a transistor, the base of the transistor, and then we're also going to have the positive run into the collector and out through the emitter, or I might have that backwards. It doesn't matter, it's functionally the same. And then those are going to run into a bunch of LEDs, probably 8 of them. And that's going to run all the way back to ground. It doesn't get much more simpler than that. That's the buck converter we're going to do. The reason we're running that into a transistor is because I'm going to put right here a nice potentiometer that will let me change the amount of voltage that's being hit to the base here, because there's a forward voltage between base to emitter of 0.6 volts. So anything above that, which it should always be above that, will change the voltage that's actually coming through here. All that's to say, it's an efficient, more efficient way to raise and lower the brightness of these. Instead of using a MOSFET, we will use a transistor here for 2 reasons. One, transistors are small, they're cheap, and this entire circuit will use less than 200 milliamps. And the transistor I'm going to use is called a 2N222, or it might be 222A, it doesn't matter, which can handle continuously 600 milliamps or spikes of 800, but it never gets 800. So that's well within range for that. This is the buck converter that we will be using, but I have this plugged into a breadboard power supply. It's supplying 3 volts right now. 3 volts are going into the right hand side of this potentiometer through the center lead, which is where the variability is going to the base of that transistor. We have positive coming to this left hand side of this transistor, which I believe is collector, and is passing through the right hand side of the transistor, which I believe is emitter. All 3 of the positive for these LEDs is on the same line as emitter, and they all have their negative end on the same line, which is being pulled to negative. So when I plug this in, as long as it doesn't pull out, it should light up like it does. And then if we adjust that, we can make it brighter or less bright. Obviously there's only 3 here, and we're using blue just because it's easier to see. But we're going to have 8 there, and just because we have a lot more, so these are the boards that we're going to use. There's this one that you've already seen. I don't know where I'm going to have it yet, but one of these are going to get spliced. I'm going to put a switch in it further away, but we're going to wait on that until I actually put it in the box. This is the potentiometer that's going to have feed directly into this base, the base of this potentiometer. This resistor is going to be there just to stop it from ever getting the full voltage. So it'll always be a little bit weaker than it could be, just because I don't want the lights getting terribly bright. Even without that, if the LEDs were to take the full voltage provided, they would be fine, but they just don't need it. These are just LEDs. They're going to be like this. But flips upside down. This one's going to be at the top. This one's going to be the side. Oh, and this one's going to be another side. They're going to be kind of like that, with this this one right here being the top. So let's go ahead and burn a little bit of metal. A lot of people like to fix them by doing that. Can't do that if you do both sides though, but I'm pretty sure you guys know that. And since I have all this extra space, I'm thinking also to switch. You guys. And yeah, but it's the other station needs to be here. I don't really worry too much about doing things too terribly perfect. Like I said, this is just a pet project. It's not anything serious. A lot of people out there that know a lot more about this stuff than I do. That's okay. Just fun. I'm not going to wire any of them together on this part because I'm going to mount these in the box that they're going to be in and then wire them. This one might be a little bit difficult to do because it has 6, but I think if I kind of hang it like that and do one side at a time. Well, I can't really reach in there though, can I? I'm going to do this Bakelite board that I have here, it's a little bit more annoying to solder on. If you're buying any boards and you see these Bakelite ones, I think I'd say don't bother with them. Let's go to the next line and get the other wheels. Sorry, I don't do it. My hand shakes so much. That was all just have to leave it after this. Alright, close the next one. Try and line up. Let's see. Put that there. That there. Something there. Make sure I got them all the right way. I'll show you. Try to hold it with another. Get that down some. No, I guess not. There's right. There's not. You can see how finagle those are. That's why you like this. You just push up one, lift one finger, heat up, and set it down. More things you got to let this solder. Resolve it after that though. So I just feel like how did it work? Hey, take it, stop, dude. There we go. And we'll get this gonna work. Oh, great. I'm going to flip this one right here. The reason I don't like them is they have these copper pads on them, which is fine and all, but it's such a small amount of copper that as soon as it gets hot, it melts off the Bakelite and it just really messes with you. That's about as good as that's going to get. This one right here needs a little bit more. So just not worth it. It's not much cheaper than the regular old green ones. Just pinch out around the yet. But we're going to go ahead and take that just really quick. And we'll put regular reach. So follow the transistor. You don't really use the transistor for the first time. The reason I'm doing this is I'm kind of, or the main one. Stretching each of those out to one of these faster to kind of the so I want them to be safe on the CD. That way, not worried about the connect each other. And then, sometimes I need glasses. That's kind of annoying. Okay, got that out. Just in there. Put that on there. That just real quick, it's fine. And then I have that centrally, so I see. I have that centrally there. That's the side of it. That's just actually. I don't know where it's just like, this is not really cool. Look, I'm going to do this. There you go. I'm going to put the feet off. The feet off right now. I'm waiting until I get all wired up. I can go ahead and these resistors feet off. Right. Continue when I got the box, and I'll put these on the box. don't know if you can see it, but that copper pad on that one leg of the LED, you see how it's all disappeared? So now it won't have a nice good connection to the board. That's what I'm talking about on these brown Bakelite boards. That's why I don't like them. This is the box I'm planning on putting them in. There's nothing special about it really. It's just a box that I threw together super duper quick out of some scrap wood, and I painted the inside black. It's not 100% light proof, but it's close enough. This one that has 6, I plan on putting an end there, cut a hole through there, and just glue that up there, then wire it up. One of these that have 2 here on each side. This one that's going to have power come in, plan on putting it here, and the one that controls will be there. So we'll have this one wired to that, and then this one will wire itself to all 3 of these. I'm also thinking I'm going to put some legs on here so it can stand up nice and easy above, and then I'll cut a hole here and put a little revolving plate there with the motor. But first we'll just get the lights in there. Pretty little boxes back. Drilled some holes on each side, and I made them slightly smaller than the board. That way you can sit on there, and I'll just hot glue that on. But the reason I did that instead of taking them from the inside is this way it kind of shields the bulb, so the light only goes into the box, and if you're looking here, the light's not shining into your eyes. And we're just going to hot glue that on each of them. Then I'm going to put some rails on each one of these to connect the hot and the cold, positive and the negative. I know you can't really see it, I don't have the camera pointed very well. I'm going to put a hot rail, cold rail, hot rail, and cold rail. And that'll all be connected to our buddy right here, which I'm probably just going to set right here, and it'll be fine. I'm just going to hold these on with a little bit of good old hot glue. So here's the basic idea. Instead of dropping a wire to each individual LED, I plan on putting these rails in, powering one as positive and one as negative. I'm not going to force you to sit there and watch me do all that. Alright, we have the box done. First thing, this, I had to take it off. For some reason, with it going through that transistor, I couldn't get the voltage higher than 2.6, which just is not enough to turn the LEDs on at all. I had 3.2 pumping in there, and the forward voltage through base through emitter is 0.6, which might be why I was cutting down to 2.6. I didn't think that's how that worked, because it's supposed to be an amplifying transistor. But I don't know, and I didn't really want to spend a day thinking about it and pretending I know how circuits work. So this is all gone. I might reincorporate it if I put that motor to spin it around, but right now it's basically just about as simple as it gets. It's all wired up. Comes all through here. Red's hot. That blue is the end of ground, and ground goes through and, you know, it just runs in a circle. We do have a little switch on there to turn it on and off. That's a UV light, and it works. Unfortunately, just like all UV lights, you kind of need a dark area. And it's pretty bright right now. It is what it is. But you can still see it works. So, I'm going to box this up and send it over to my dear mother, and hopefully she likes it. I almost forgot, somebody was asking about how much this would cost to make for parts. The LEDs themselves were $8.50 maybe for a pack of 50. I couldn't find anywhere else where you could buy a smaller amount and get a better deal. So you're looking at $8-9 on the LEDs, even though we only used 8 on this. It can handle a lot more, but we only used 8. The wire, you can buy this anywhere. Not even $1 a wire. The prototype circuit boards is what they're called. I used 4 total. They're normally about 50 cents each when you buy them in a pack. So $2 on that. That's a little buck converter. Those normally go for about $1. That's just a plug. I think you can get them for like next to nothing, or you can steal it off something else. That's a switch, same deal. We'll just say 20 cents for both of those. Then to power it, you're gonna want a little wall adapter. These are cheap as it gets. If you buy them in bulk, you can get them for $3 each. If you don't want to buy it in bulk, you can get it for $5 each. The wood is just cheap scrap wood that I had going around. The paint, it was a super cheap paint, 80 cents. The soldering equipment, we barely used any. Throw 50 cents on there. Whatever the math is what the math is. I'll try and put it on the screen.